Everything changed in the final moments of Power Book 4 for Season 2. Tommy's world cracked open fast, violent, and without warning. But what really shook fans wasn't just who pulled the trigger or who switched sides. It was what we didn't see. The silent gaps. The missing moments. The choices Tommy made off-screen that felt way too big to ignore. And now, those unseen pieces are the key to understanding where Season 3 is actually heading from the very start of Season 2. The story moved with the speed of a man running out of time. But somewhere in that rush, we could feel the gaps forming. Small moments that didn't fit. Characters jumping from one emotion to another without the bridge in between. Tommy's world in Chicago is supposed to be brutal and chaotic, but it's never been sloppy. Yet this season, something felt different. It was almost like the writers were hiding moves behind the curtain, moves they planned to reveal in Season 3. You can sense it in Tommy's mindset. One moment he's building his empire in Chicago, the next he's burning down alliances he fought hard to create. His choices are bold, but they aren't reckless. Tommy never plays without a strategy, which is what makes these sudden shifts stand out. It's as if he had conversations we were never shown, deals we never heard, warnings that never made it onto the screen. The audience could feel that something was missing, not because the story was weak, but because the story was holding back. And then there's the emotional weight Tommy carries. He's a man who has lost more than almost anyone else in the Power universe. Yet this season, he seemed to be driven by something deeper than revenge or ambition. A sense of urgency that didn't match the events we actually saw. It felt like he knew something the rest of us didn't. A reminder, a threat, a promise. Something that ties him back to New York. Even while he's fighting to rule Chicago, this becomes even more clear when you look at the characters around him. Miguel, Diamond, Jenner, each of them reacted to Tommy as if something huge had happened off-screen. A deal broken. A secret leaked. A threat delivered. But the show never showed it. And those missing beats changed the entire direction of Season 2. These aren't plot holes, they're hidden setups. Seeds planted now, so they can explode later. What makes these missing scenes so important is that they don't just fill in the story, they push the story. They shape Tommy's path, even if we couldn't see every step he took. And when you look at the bigger picture, when you match the tone of the season with the choices he made, it becomes clear that these gaps weren't accidents. They're leading him somewhere specific, somewhere dangerous, somewhere familiar, because what's coming in Season 3 isn't just another gang war, another betrayal, or another empire to build. It's something that reaches back into Tommy's past and pulls him towards something he thought he left behind forever. Those missing scenes aren't just parts of his Chicago story, they're the first hints of something bigger tying him back to New York. And if you pay close attention, the signs were there all along. Tommy's rage felt sharper. His risks felt heavier. His silence felt louder. This isn't the behavior of a man lost in the chaos, it's the behavior of a man preparing for something. Something that connects Chicago to the world he once ruled in NYC. Something that sets the stage for not just Season 3, but the next big chapter of the entire Power universe. There's a strange feeling that hangs over the second half of 4 Season 2, like we're walking through a house where a few doors are locked, and we can only hear faint echoes behind them. The story moves, characters react, alliances shift, but some of the most important sparks that should ignite these moments never actually appear on screen. And that's where things get interesting. Because when a show like Power holds something back, it's not by accident. It's because those missing pieces are part of a bigger plan. Take Tommy's feud with Miguel, for example. Their conflict goes from simmering to explosive almost instantly. One moment they're circling each other, feeling out each other's weaknesses, and the next it feels like the war is already in motion. But we never see the exact moment when the line is crossed. Something had to happen. Some off-screen threat, deal, or betrayal that pushed Miguel into a fully aggressive stance. The way he confronts Tommy feels personal, as if someone whispered something into his ear long before the audience ever saw the tension reach that point. That missing moment is a clue there's a deeper connection between these storylines that Season 3 is going to expose. Diamond's shift is another example. His decisions swing between protecting the crew and protecting himself. But the thing that stands out is the way he reacts to Tommy in scenes where nothing specific is shown to justify such a sudden change. He's cautious one moment, cold the next, and then back to business. That isn't inconsistent writing, it's intentional space. It suggests conversations we never saw, warnings we never heard, and moves being made in the shadows. Diamond is a thinker. He plans, he weighs risks. So when he switches gears without a clear reason, it means something happened that the show didn't want to reveal yet. Something that Season 3 will bring into the light. And then there's Jennard. His storyline feels like it's missing an entire hidden thread. He makes alliances with people who barely appear on screen. He reacts to rumors that the audience never hears. He's constantly 10 steps ahead of a game we never fully get to see. That's because Jennard isn't just a street soldier, he's a strategist playing a long game that doesn't fit neatly into a single season. There's a sense that he made a deal with someone outside the Chicago circle, someone the show isn't ready to name yet. It's the kind of slow burn mystery that connects the Power universe across cities, across crews, and across past conflicts. These missing scenes create a pattern, one that points toward a hidden storyline unfolding behind the main plot. The writers are setting up something layered, something that ties Chicago to a bigger world. When moments feel skipped or shortened, it's because the payoff isn't meant to land in Season 2. It's meant to land hard in Season 3. Every character reaction, every sudden twist, every jump in emotion is a breadcrumb leading to a reveal the audience hasn't seen yet, and Tommy's behavior ties all these missing pieces together. His rage isn't blind. His confidence isn't random. His choices aren't impulsive. It feels like he already knows the truth behind these off-screen moments. He senses the danger growing around him, even if the viewers don't see it directly. A man like Tommy doesn't move without a purpose. If he's pushing harder, fighting dirtier, and taking bigger risks, it's because he's preparing for something that hasn't been revealed yet. Something powerful enough to force Chicago and New York into the same storm. These unseen scenes aren't gaps, they're pressure points building tension for what comes next. They are the silent foundation for the chaos Season 3 is about to unleash. And every missing moment is leading Tommy closer to the truth, closer to the danger, and closer to the city he swore he left behind. There's a quiet shadow that follows Tommy through all of Season 2. Even when the story never mentions it directly. It's the shadow of New York, the city that made him, broke him, and still owns a piece of his soul no matter how far he runs. And when you look closely at the tone of the season, the choices he makes, and the pressure building around him, you can feel that shadow getting stronger. New York is calling him back, not with a shout, but with an echo that keeps getting louder. And Season 3 is where that echo becomes a force he can't ignore anymore. Tommy might be building an empire in Chicago, but he never truly left New York behind. The ghosts of that city sit in every decision he makes. Ghost, Angela, Lakeisha, Holly, even Kate. Every loss he's ever taken is tied to New York. But what's interesting is how Season 2 hints at unfinished business without saying it out loud. Tommy doesn't talk about it, the characters around him don't mention it, but the way he reacts to certain situations says everything. When someone questions his loyalty or challenges his power, you can see him flash back to a version of himself that existed only in NYC. It's like the city still lives inside him, shaping him even when the story doesn't show it. And the small dialogue hints in Season 2 aren't just filler. They're clues. When characters mention old connections, other business, or your past catching up, they're setting the stage for something bigger. These aren't random lines, they're signals that Tommy's world is expanding beyond Chicago. Someone from New York is watching him. Someone is waiting. Someone is planning to pull him back into the city he swore he was done with. The writers don't need to put it on screen because the silence around it says even more. In the Power universe, New York is never really gone. It's the center of everything, but it's not just about Tommy's past. It's about how the power universe is shifting. Tariq's story in New York is reaching a point where he can't move forward without confronting his father's legacy. And Tommy is a major part of that legacy, whether he likes it or not. What makes this so powerful is that the show doesn't force the connection, it lets it simmer in the background. Tommy's name doesn't need to be spoken for his presence to matter in Tariq's world. Their stories are running on parallel tracks, and Season 3 feels like the moment the tracks finally collide. The energy around Tommy in Season 2 feels unstable, like he's preparing for something outside Chicago. You can sense it in the way he looks at threats. He doesn't just see them as local problems, he sees them as obstacles in a path that leads somewhere bigger. Even the way he handles alliances feels temporary, like he knows they won't last. Tommy is not settling in Chicago. He's building, but he's building with the urgency of a man who knows his future isn't rooted in one place. This is where the idea of a crossover becomes more than a fun theory, it becomes a necessary story move. The power universe needs a bridge between the old world and the new one. And Tommy is the only character who can walk that bridge with the weight and emotional history required to make it believable. His ties to New York aren't just emotional, they're structural. He's connected to the heart of the franchise, and the writers know that bringing him back into New York's orbit isn't just exciting, it's essential. Season 2 feels like the quiet winding of a spring. Every missing scene, every strange emotional shift, every unexplained choice Tommy makes, these are all signs that the story is about to explode outward. New York isn't a memory anymore. It's a destination. And something in the upcoming season is going to force Tommy to turn around and face the city that shaped him into the man he is now. Whether it's Tariq, Ghost's legacy, a threat from the past, or a promise that never died, New York is coming for him. And when it arrives, it won't be subtle. This is the pull of the crossover. Not just two cities, but two eras of the power universe colliding. Chicago represents who Tommy is becoming. New York represents who he used to be. And Season 3 is the moment these two versions of him slam into each other, pulling the entire franchise into its next chapter. What makes the setup for Power Book 5 Legacy so powerful isn't just the action, or the politics, or the violence, it's the way the story forces two worlds to collide. Chicago and New York aren't just cities in this universe. They're two different versions of the power story. Two different styles of survival. Two different battlefields where Tommy and Tariq are fighting their own wars. But when you look closely at how Season 2 ends, you can see the lines between those worlds starting to blur. Not suddenly, not loudly, but slowly, like two storms drifting toward each other until there's no space between them at all. Tommy doesn't know it yet. But everything happening around him is pushing him toward a future he never planned, to become the bridge between the old era and the new one. He's the last piece of the original power universe, still standing in the dirt, still fighting with his hands instead of politics, still loyal to the code that came before everything collapsed. That alone gives him weight in the story that no other character can carry. But Season 2 builds on this in a way that almost feels hidden. Every alliance Tommy forms in Chicago is unstable. Every threat he faces feels temporary. Every plan he makes feels like a setup for something bigger than the city he's standing in. That's because Chicago isn't his final destination, it's just the stage where the next phase begins. Meanwhile, Tariq's story in New York has reached a breaking point. He's fighting battles that look different from the ones Tommy faced, but they're connected by a single thread: Ghost's legacy. Whether he admits it or not, Tariq is shaped by his father just as much as Tommy is haunted by him. That connection is the foundation of legacy. But here's what makes it interesting: Tariq can't move forward without confronting the truth about who Ghost was. And Tommy is the living, breathing reminder of everything Ghost taught, everything he feared, and everything he became. Tommy isn't just a character from Tariq's past, he's the key to Tariq's future. This is why a crossover isn't just fan service, it's necessary. Tariq needs someone who understands the game at the level Ghost played it. Someone who knows how to survive when the whole world is trying to bury you. Someone who has nothing left to lose. and Tommy is the only person who fits all three. But what makes this setup so compelling is that Tommy and Tariq don't trust each other. They don't like each other. They don't even want to breathe the same air. And that tension is exactly why their stories need to collide. Legacy can't exist without conflict, without history, without unresolved pain. Tommy brings all of that into Tariq's world the moment he steps back into New York. But the real power of this setup lies in the timing. Season 2 of Force ends with Tommy surrounded by problems he can't solve alone, new enemies rising, old allies fading, and a city turning against him in ways he didn't expect. That pressure doesn't weaken him, it sharpens him. It turns him into the version of Tommy who's ready to face something bigger than Chicago. And that's where Legacy comes in. Because to build the next generation of power, the writers need someone who carries the weight of everything that came before without being tied down by it. Tommy is that character. He's the final thread connecting Ghost's world to the new one. Season 3 will likely push Tommy right into the center of this collision. Every missing scene, every off-screen moment, every strange emotional shift is preparing him for something far outside the Chicago streets. He's being pushed toward New York not just by fate, but by the structure of the story itself. Legacy isn't just about Tariq stepping into his father's shadow, it's about the power universe evolving. It's about passing the torch. And Tommy is the one who has kept that flame alive through every loss, every betrayal, every war. The crossover isn't just a plot twist. It's the moment the power universe restarts. Tommy walking back into New York doesn't just connect to shows, it connects to eras, to legacies, to paths that were always meant to meet again. And when he finally stands face to face with Tariq, everything the audience thought they knew about the future of this universe will change. Season 3 isn't just setting up Legacy, it's building the foundation for the next generation of power. And Tommy Egan is the pillar holding it all together.